Alright, next up we're going to mount the Pi on. It's everything you need. Tape. Basically, where do we want to mount it is the first question. I've chosen up to mount the camera up on the top of the Mini. Let's go up here and so you can basically going to mount the camera using these screws, have it come out above. And mount the Pi behind it so that it's nice and out of the way. Keep everything in one compact space. I want to keep this rail clear because I have ideas on putting stuff over there. I didn't think there's quite enough room behind the... it might be a better option, but it's kind of tight, kind of cramped. Anyways, I'm using some 1/4-inch Kapton to help mount the camera, basically just taping it. You need a 12-inch camera cable. I really like using the Pi cameras. This is just the regular 1.3. I have not used the HD cameras, but should be similar. Extra long M4 screws. M5 screws, I'm sorry. These are 25mm. These are to replace the existing Prusa screws. And the camera mount. This is going to be mounted right up on top. So you can see that. Alright. So we're going to be using the same screw holes. You notice the camera is angled, so it's going to be pointing right at your print bed. Like the overhead camera, if you see the most stuff, you see a little bit of the outside outfeed. Need your Pi. It does not really matter what kind of Pi you have, or what age Pi I should say. This is Pi 3B 1.2. Don't need the 4. Don't need. Octoprint is very lightweight. We're going to use these guys to mount the case in the channel. Case is a little flanged, so it'll be mounted like that. These guys pushing through. Pi gets mounted in there. Using 32 gigabyte SD card. I've already flashed octoprint on there. Just the stock octoprint. I don't edit it at all. I use a wired Ethernet to connect up the printer in the first place, so that you don't have to worry about your Wi-Fi password and throwing it on there. This is USB A to micro B, basically your old cell phone cable. The Prusa Mini has this connector instead of the large B like most others, so I don't need him till the end. 2 10mm screws to mount the Pi in the case, M3, and 3 25mm M3 screws to close the case up. So, first thing, that should fit in reasonably well. You can put all the screws in, but usually don't find a need myself. But for tools, you need 2mm if you're using the small M3 screws, 2.5mm for the large M3s, and there's really no need to worry about the head size or anything like that. This is just a fairly generic case that I grabbed. I'm really only getting these guys in to keep it from knocking around. If your printer falls down the stairs and your Pi isn't mounted, you've still got other problems to worry about. Still fits, and as always, these parts were printed on this machine. Before putting those screws in, it's vitally important that you insert the camera cable. Tiny piece of Kapton tape on there. Toss that right away. hard to see on these connectors, but there are shiny pins on the white side, not the black side. So pins, no pins. Make sure your pins are touching the other pins. There you go. And I'm going to give it another screw. Right back. Looks good. Power to the Pi. SD card accessible and removable in case we need it. We'll use the unit and little output here to run the printer. Move the printer all the way up. Sort of see what's going on, but just replacing the Prusa screws, ones that are a good bit longer, because ours are going to be mounted above, as opposed to being inset. Camera arm install. The Pi will be mounted right here up top. Keeps it out of the way of the extruder going all the way up. This is the power to the Pi from our little module that we installed last time. And then from the Pi, this is the data cable. I'm gonna have him go back with the power cable because he lives, plugs into the back of the, or the middle of the buddy board. Camera. I'll put here. So in a lot of these, the camera is not firmly glued down. There's a little sticky there so you can adjust it. I make sure to always stick it down first. Camera should just sit right in here. Looks good. Big old lens, so it's looking down, and you're basically getting this shot from the camera. Same thing with this guy. The black side does not have pins, so the blue goes towards the black. Only thing vital about this is not to cover up the lens. You should notice I'm bunching up the camera cable a bit. It's because the top is a pretty safe place to stick out, at least compared to the sides. And that is the hardware install sorted. So it's nice and flush. We're getting power to the Pi, and we're feeding data to the printer.